Wow.
Just nothing.
And yet you know
nothing.
that
There's no evidence of it. It was
you
a
know that
viral
boxer,
right-wing
well,
story based on nothing.
Hang on. You know that boxer was banned from the World Championships precisely because there is evidence. You know that, right?
Yes. Do you know the details of that, Piers? Do you know? Tell the full story. Go ahead. Tell the full story.
That boxer was banned, along with the other one, from the World Championships because it has been reported that they tested positive for male chromosomes, right? If you know better, tell me.
That's not the full. I do know better, and I will tell you. That was done by a Russian lab who had an interest in disqualifying her because it jeopardized the undefeated record of a Russian boxer. It's just, that's all they have, and it's totally debunked. Piers, I thought you were better than this.
It's not debunked, and you'll regret saying that because it's true.
David Pakman got absolutely annihilated on the Piers Morgan Uncensored show. David Pakman was a part of a panel on Piers Morgan where he completely embarrassed himself, and not even his slimy Weasley ways, as much as he tried, couldn't save him. Let's all watch and laugh together, shall we?
Here's what I would say before I let you respond. The reaction to Trump going to McDonald's was fascinating to watch from here across the pond, because I can't think of a smarter stunt, frankly, given all the furore over whether Kamala ever did actually work at McDonald's. And honestly, from everything I've read, I don't think she did, because absolutely no one can remember her ever being there. But putting that to one side, he goes there and he does this stunt. But it's, you know, McDonald's is such an iconic piece of Americana. It's the kind of all-inclusive place where everyone can afford to go there. Pretty much anyone could end up running a franchise if you work hard enough and you get a bit of luck and a fair wind behind you. And there he is in his hatch, having fries and fries, handing out packages. And yet all I saw from the left was a lot of scorn and mockery, as if somehow him doing this was something to be laughed at. I did not see it that way. I thought this was really smart politics by Trump. And actually what the Democrats should have done was just very quickly move on and find something better to talk about, rather than looking like they think this is somehow all rather demeaning, because that's not how regular Americans would have seen it. Discuss.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I spoke about this 5 minutes on Monday, and I've moved on, so I agree with you. I mean, I'm only talking about it now because you brought it up. I don't think it was as brilliant as maybe you're suggesting. You know, they closed down a store and hurt that store financially on that day in terms of sales. And Trump, at the end of the day, saw it as something to help him. If he had gone there, well, hold on a second. I'm one sentence in. If he had gone there and said, I put on the apron, I did the fry-o-later, and now I recognize that a $7.25 minimum wage, which has been the same almost 20 years, isn't going to cut it, that would have been really interesting and shown he cares about someone other than himself. Instead, it was about rehearsed drive-through and wearing the apron
you see,
and
David,
pretending
here's
to
the
know
problem.
what's going
I'm going to
on.
jump in
And it's
because
Kamala
you
Harris
are
who said, I support a $15 an hour minimum wage.
Are you familiar with the phrase clutching at straws? I hope that.
I'm sorry, you glitched. What's the phrase?
Does the phrase clutching at straws cross the pond in a way that you understand?
Piers, you brought this topic up.
No, what I'm saying is,
other than
you saying the only
lead.
way it could work would be if Trump banged on about the minimum wage. You're missing the point. I mean, let me bring in, I'll bring back Kevin here, because you're a business guy, you're an entrepreneur. Just as a pure bit of political theatre, I thought he was genius. Utter genius. Honestly, I did.
I mean, most of this material is seen in 15, 30, 45-second visual bites. And I think for him, it worked. I mean, yeah, people are talking about the fact that Secret Service had to check out the people in the car that took the bag. But I don't think the majority of people that watch that on TikTok or Instagram give a damn. And I think these things are viral for about 30 hours. My team monitors all this stuff because we're involved in the same kind of social media for many companies. And it really worked. It got a tremendous amount of views. And so it's already burned off and we're on to the next thing. But Trump has become masterful at mastering the art of holding on to viral videos for longer than almost anybody else. And some of the things he says are outrageous, and people have known him now for close to 9 years. And if you hate him, you hate him. It just doesn't matter at this point. You know, I have the same divide in my own family. I mean, I got a family cut in half. I have to listen to this stuff every night at dinner as one side blasts the other. But that is the American kitchen table today. And I would say one thing about this that people should start considering, because the outcome, as we've been discussing, is unknown, but we're just literally days away. I think the takeaway from this election that is going to be looked at for a long time if the Democrats lose, and the history that will be made, is circumventing the democratic system by actually not allowing the democracy to choose the next leader after Biden was stepped aside or was pushed aside, whatever you want to call it. What would be a huge mistake if she loses, because she was not a successful candidate in 2019. She was not a successful candidate in 2020. And if she's not a successful candidate now, it'll be because the same reason that 88% of investment advisors can't beat the S&P 500, Obama can't beat the index that is made by his own democracy, his own Democratic convention. He picked her. Maybe Hillary Clinton picked her. Maybe some movie stars picked her. We simply don't know. She was anointed, and if she fails, it's their fault.
Yeah.
And they're going to own it. And it happened to Hillary Clinton, too. I remember I was there in Pittsburgh when she was anointed, and Bruce Springsteen sat on the stage and sang about, boy, it's going to be great while she's president, and she got smoked.
Yeah.
And that she was also an anointment, so I think that's got to stop. They got to stop trying to pick stocks and let the actual party decide.
Yeah.
You know what? Well said. It's so interesting, Pakman. He talks about, well, if Donald Trump would have brought up the federal minimum wage. No one knows. No one cares about the federal minimum wage. Like, no one even knows that it's still like $7 and something cents. I don't know the exact number, but I remember it's like $7 something. No one even knows that, and no one cares because nobody pays $7 anymore. No one pays that. That's because we haven't been needing a raise in the federal minimum wage. It's almost as if the market kind of just handled that on itself. Because if you see there's Burger King and McDonald's, and Burger King is still paying $7, then you got McDonald's. McDonald's is paying like $17, $18 an hour. No one's going to work for Burger King, so Burger King's going to have to raise their pay or go out of business. That's how the market works. It's almost as if the government should stop meddling in the market. But I think Pakman knows all this stuff. I think his head, in his weaselly brain, he was just trying to think of something, anything, to counter this clearly obvious genius marketing and just genius promotion that Donald Trump did that went absolutely viral. Like this, forgot his name, but this businessman said. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to a little bit later on the show where Pakman gets his butthole absolutely blown out once again. This is great to watch. Check it out.
She's a terrible candidate. She laughs and she cannot articulate a clear sentence about her policy positions. And then she gets on the campaign trail and runs on, I'm a woman. I'm going to do this for black people. Ma'am, you have never done anything for black people, and you're not a clear representation of a good quality woman. And we can go over her history, but I'll save that for another time. But these people are patronizing young black men. Obama comes out and says, well, y'all are against women. That's why you don't want to. No, we're not stupid anymore. We're sick of these people promising things that they're never going to deliver on. And Kamala Harris, at the 11th hour, is now rolling out Lizzo. Big Lizzo got on a private jet cussing and swearing, and her lyrics are degenerate. You got Eminem is degenerate. You have all of these celebrities. Those are not the average everyday person. These celebrities are not worrying about what they're going to eat in healthcare. They're extremely wealthy, and they're not connecting with the people. And that's why Donald Trump is kicking her butt. And if it wasn't for lies and deception and coercion by the media and all of that, Donald Trump will be winning by 20 points right now.
Right, but the truth is he's not, and it is very, very close. Let me bring you out David here. David, the thing is, I want to play a clip from MSNBC. Obviously, you hate Trump with a pathological violence. But they went out and spoke to people in the street, and this happened.
Trump talks about this a lot. He says, Kamala Harris became black when it was convenient. Right.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about, do you agree with him on that? Do you feel like she's wearing her blackness?
Absolutely. When she swore into the Senate, it was as the first Indian American.
Thank you.
Which is, it's fine. We don't care.
We all know she's not black. Let's understand that. We are all clear of that. But my point of view, like I told you earlier, she's already been there. She's in office right now.
I mean, David, that's pretty devastating when you hear that for Kamala Harris, isn't it? They all think she's a bit of a phony. who's basically using them as a community.
Those two people did say that, but if you look at any public opinion survey, this is not ranking anywhere. And there still seems to be confusion about the concept of being biracial. But no, I don't think that's really devastating at all. And in fact, I think that, I don't know what interviews Brandon's been watching, but she just did an interview yesterday with NBC where she was almost goaded by the interviewer. Why aren't you talking about being a woman and being Black? And she said, people can tell what my identity is. I'm running on policy, and then people can judge the identity however they want. She's stepped away from identity politics, which I think is fantastic, by the way.
David, let me ask you this.
Politics as a cudgel.
David, let me ask you this. One of the things she stands for, along with Joe Biden, is she has done nothing while they've been in office to stem this, in my view, horrendously unfair situation of trans athletes competing in women's sport. And an astonishing survey has just come out today by the United Nations that reveals that female athletes have lost 900 medals to transgender rivals competing against them in women's sporting categories. This is a UN report. That's 600 female athletes in more than 400 competitions have lost nearly 900 medals in 29 different sports. When the average American sees that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris now support this unfairness, and that's what it is. It's just unfair. It's nothing to do with being transphobic or anything else. It's just unfair. And when it's supported by a report like that from the UN, that's one of her problems too, is that people think they're supporting the indefensible. They lack basic common sense. What do you say to that?
I'm struggling to think that you're taking this any more seriously than as something that might generate clicks on YouTube, Piers.
Wow, you don't think that's serious?
Hold on, Piers, I can't even get a sentence out.
What, you don't think it's serious?
Hold on a second. The vast majority of those instances in the UN report are outside the United States and have nothing to do with the president or vice president of the United States at its face. And secondly, I would challenge you to tell me the quotes that Biden or Harris have put forward wherein they have weighed in on how sports leagues should be handling these decisions. But 92% of that study is not even in the US. So I don't even know why you're bringing this up other than
what's that got to do with the principle of the principle?
I'm sorry?
What's that got to do with the principle?
Well, the principle is you're saying Kamala Harris and Biden have come out in support of this.
They do. They support policies which actively protect. They support policies that protect transgender athletes performing in women's sport. And I think that is madness. You're saying, well, because most of these things in this UN report were outside of America, it doesn't matter. It does matter.
What I'm saying, it's a completely contrived issue that almost no one cares about in every single opinion poll.
Wow. You see, I think that's incredibly deluded.
There is the prime example of the sliminess. That is David Pakman. Right when you think you got him pinned down, you got him on the floor, and you got him down, he weasels and slimes his way out of your arms, out of your hands. He is the professor of sliminess. He needs to teach a course. Now, clearly, even if there's no direct quotes from Biden or Kamala Harris, and I don't know if there is or if there isn't, but even if there isn't, clearly they support it. Not necessarily because they personally feel it's right. They probably personally feel that it's not right. I think most people, even left-wing people, know deep down that it is not right. I'm sure David Pakman also knows that it is not right. However, they allow it to happen because they know that is part of their fan base. It is the left and the Democrats that push this whole notion of, oh yeah, trans women are women, and they can't even define what women is anymore because of this. Like, that is coming from their side. It is not Donald Trump or right-wingers that are saying, no, trans women are women. No, it is left-wingers. So now that the left-wingers are in charge, yeah, they are allowing it to happen. So yes, they do support it. And David Pakman knows this, but he is a slimy weasel. What do you guys think? Sound off in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you like this type of content. Let's continue.
People do care about it. They care about the integrity of women's sport.
It just doesn't show up in any opinion poll as a primary issue. Not top 10, not top 20.
Out of interest, do you think...
They care about it,
but it
doesn't show up in a single poll.
What's your view? Do you think it's fair?
I think that it depends on the sport, and I think we need to talk about this for probably 90 minutes to really have a productive conversation.
So when you saw the Paris Olympics and you saw 2 gold medal winners in women's boxing who actually were born with biological male chromosomes, you think that's right?
That is not the truth as far as I understand it.
Really?
I don't know who you're talking about. If you can name them, then maybe we can get into more detail.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. It was well publicized.
Well, tell me. Tell me who you're talking about.
I can't remember their exact names. There were 2 gold medal winners. Well, I can find them now if it helps you. I don't know why the names matter.
The one who was the source of a lot of viral articles was born a woman, always lived as a woman, and always competed as a woman. I'm sorry?
What was her name?
Imani something.
All right, so you don't know either. So don't be quite so patronizing if you don't know either. But the truth is...
Well,
that was great. Oh my gosh. You know, I'm not a big Piers Morgan fan or anything, but that was great. I love that. You know, David Pakman, he's always like, what does the poll say? What does the data say? But clearly it's like, even if it's not on top of everybody's minds or on top of everyone's polling, as David Pakman says, clearly it is important, and it's still unfair to these female athletes. And did you notice too, David Pakman, when Piers Morgan asked him about the trans gold medal winners, Pakman was like, I don't know who you're talking about at first. But then afterward, he goes on to talk about it like he does know who Piers was talking about. Everyone knows it was like the biggest talk when the Olympics was going on. Just another example of the disingenuous weaseliness, sliminess that is David Pakman.
Well, you're bringing it up, Piers. See, here's the thing. Hold on a second, Piers. Hold on a second. You do this all the time, Piers. You bring something up. And then you evaluate your guest's opinion as to how much it matters. You brought it up. If it doesn't actually matter, don't bring it up.
No, just to be clear, you were haranguing me for not remembering the name. I said the name's irrelevant. What's relevant is whether the gold medal winners have biological male chromosomes when they're getting into a boxing ring
they do not.
and punching women in the face so hard that one of the women competitors, a female, quit after 45 seconds.
Yes,
because she'd never been hit that hard.
There is nothing to the story that the boxer that prevailed was ever a man.
Wow.
Just nothing.
And yet you know that
there's no evidence of it.
You know that
it was a viral right-wing story
based
based on nothing.
Hang on, you know that boxer was banned from the World Championships precisely because there is evidence. You know that, right?
Yes. Do you know the details of that, Piers? Do you know? Tell the full story. Go ahead, tell the full story.
That boxer was banned, along with the other one, from the World Championships because it has been reported that they tested positive for male chromosomes, right? If you know better, tell me.
That's not the full. I do know better, and I will tell you. That was done by a Russian lab who had an interest in disqualifying her because it jeopardized the undefeated record of a Russian boxer. It's just, that's all they have, and it's totally debunked. Piers, I thought you were better than this.
It's not debunked, and you'll regret saying that because it's true. Let me go to Kevin. Kevin, I have a common sense test with this stuff. One of the things Trump is very good at, his instincts are very commonsensical. You can hate some of the rhetoric, and I do when he goes off sometimes at people. But what you can't deny is instincts for what average Americans are thinking. Normally pretty spot on. And he said recently, I think last week, he would ban all trans athletes from women's sport. Do you think it matters or not?
You know, I actually enjoyed that narrative you two just had, and I have a solution that I think you'll both agree with, and I think we could settle this issue forever. Globally,
I know what it's going to be.
We know almost 40 years ago that we started testing for doping, for example, and we exclude cyclists in Olympics that are doping, and we found other drugs that we exclude, tested by Olympic testers. So why don't we just settle this and create the transgender Olympics? So if you started in one gender and you switch to another, you join this third category and you go at it. And I think everybody would agree with that. And I think it'd make it very easy, and it's tested by DNA, and that would be it, because I also agree it's kind of unfair if you take a man and change him into a woman using today's technology and he pounds the crap out of somebody in a boxing ring, or she does. That's not fair. It just doesn't make common sense. And that goes through to this thing you're talking about with Trump. He's authentic. You know, I had this narrative with my daughter yesterday in New York, and we really were heated. And I said, do you agree that he has no filter. He just puts out what's on his mind, and you know with certainty that's what's on his mind. And she said, that I agree with. He has no filter, and he's authentic. Now, if you don't like that, don't vote for him.
Yeah.
The people are going to decide. But I don't feel the same way about the other candidate. I respect VP Harris, but it seems to me she's trying to process every single sentence. And I'm a little worried about something. For me to get the actual data on her pricing policy, of which I have many investments in food services, I had to call Mark Cuban and ask him, you're obviously stumping for her. You're a shill for her. What the hell is she talking about? Should I be worried? And he said, no, you don't have to worry about this. It's a crazy policy. It'll never happen. Okay, well, that's not good. Why can't she say that herself? Or 28% taxes or unrealized gains on capital. I got to call Cuban for the answer. Luckily, I know the guy. Maybe he should be the president.
That was just great. David Pakman just put himself out there just to get humiliated on the Piers Morgan show, and it was beautiful to see. I love it when the Paxter gets nuked from orbit. It is always beautiful to see. And if you want to see more of that, I got a whole playlist for you on the left-hand corner.